Greetings, fellow gear nerds. Today I'm going to be putting up two pieces of gear against each other in a CHUG battle royale, the 𝗏𝗏 and the new offering from NUX, the MG30. I recently reviewed the MG30 on my channel and I was very impressed by the slick user interface and the experience of dialing in a tone. Many of you wanted to know how it would stack up against the infamous 𝗏𝗏, which brings me to today's video. Today we're going to look at the pros and cons of each of the units, as well as shooting them out both in a mix with stock cab emulation as well as third-party IRs, because let's face it, neither one of these modelers is known for their stellar cab emulation. First up, we have the MG30, and like I mentioned previously, the user interface and the experience is excellent. It comes equipped with a 4-inch LCD display, and the approach that they have taken is actually to try and recreate the experience of dialing in the gear that it's emulating, so much so that a large part of their marketing is based around white box modeling, which is a fancy way of saying that the turning of the knobs behaves more in line with the real gear than it does in a linear fashion like it would on most digital modeling effects units. It also has a built-in drum looper that can come in really handy if you need something to practice to but are tired of the mundane clicking of a metronome. Lastly, there are also what I would call fun features that aren't really found in any other effects units that I can think of. This includes the ability to load custom splash screens as well as play Snake, of all things. And even though these features aren't really practical for any sort of musician, I think it says a lot about the nature of a company that would include these features in their final product. Now, some of the drawbacks of the MG30 are its very limited cabinet selection, which I feel they are aware of. I mean, the first preset you load up when you get the unit has a third-party IR, which says a lot about their confidence in their cabinet emulation. Oh, and there's also this. Usually in the marketing for a product, the marketing tries to oversell said product, but in this case we have NUX telling you that these cabs are just okay. Speaking of limited selection, there are not a ton of amps and effects included in this unit, and if you're familiar with the MG300 that preceded it, then you know how small the selection is. Again, NUX is aware of this and has preemptively come up with a slogan to make you feel better about it. Less is more. While this is something that I normally would agree with, I mean, I would rather have one awesome sound than 100 mediocre sounds. That's not quite the case here. While the emulation is really great, and we'll get to that in a minute, I found the amp selection to be lacking for my taste and would really like to see new models added with firmware in the future. Now, what about the 𝗏𝗏? The 𝗏𝗏's strengths, in my opinion, are its form factor and in and out options. Line 6 knew exactly who they were making these effects units for, and they hit the nail on the head. The design is perfect for the stage, and with the robust feature set you would find in their more expensive Helix units like Snapshots, really lends itself to being a powerful tool for the gigging guitar player. And even though I personally prefer the MG30's user interface, that isn't throwing any shade at the 𝗏𝗏. The 𝗏𝗏 also has an excellent user interface as well and is very easy to navigate and get tones set up with. And those tones are more vast as the 𝗏𝗏 has a beefy arsenal of effects, amplifiers, and cabinets. And even though the consensus on the cab emulation tends to be that they are underwhelming, I find them to be more than suitable for most guitar players. I don't think that they will ever be on par with custom third-party IRs, but that's not really the point. I think most of these manufacturers are well aware there's a huge market for third-party IRs, and it doesn't make a lot of sense to spend time and resources developing them, since anyone can purchase their favorite cabinet sounds or even create their own unique IRs and load them into the units. So take all this cab stuff with a grain of salt. The most disappointing thing about the 𝗏𝗏, in my opinion, is the limited DSP. If you like crazy reverbs and delays and complex atmospheric signal chains, you might be bottlenecked by the 𝗏𝗏 and how much you can really create. Also, to the same point, the signal chain editing is more linear and doesn't allow for the same flexibility as its big brothers in the Helix line of products, but that's to be expected since the series comes in at a lower price point. These are only some of the more important pros and cons, in my opinion, when using these modelers, but specs are only part of the story. Let's listen to them in a mix and see if we can dive in a little bit deeper. So I really enjoy both of these units for different reasons, and I don't really think you can go wrong with either one. It's all about figuring out what fits you and your particular playing style and your specific needs. If you like this video, make sure to hit the like button and check out one of these other videos that you might like as well. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.